Ganondorf, the last Gerudo king in recorded history, with his demise at the end of Twilight Princess, his sealing at the end of The Wind Waker, or his death at the end of the original game, there has yet to be another Gerudo king born to the tribe. Have you ever wondered why? I'm Cornelius Belmont, and let's talk about Ganondorf. Okay, so here on YouTube there are a ton of Breath of the Wild 2 speculation videos. And I myself am actually a fan of many of the prominent creators here on the platform. I decided to start my journey off by talking about a theory I have regarding the Gerudo King, one that I've never seen talked about before. My theory is about the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and something that I think is painfully obvious, yet nobody has talked about it. Here it is in a nutshell, and afterwards I will discuss my evidence and reasoning behind it. What we see in the trailer is that Link and Zelda, for some reason or another, come upon Ganondorf's mummified body. I say body because I think he is still alive. I believe that Ganondorf has been locked away in this state, still alive, for over 10,000 years, maybe even longer. It is my belief that this is the same Ganon we see from the end of Twilight Princess, and subsequently the same Ganon we see from Ocarina of Time. He is also the same Ganon that Urbosa spoke about in Breath of the Wild. The thing nobody is talking about is why he was locked away in the first place. Now, there has been a theory floating around about how Malice is being extracted from his body and purified into an energy source. And to be honest, I'm a bit skeptical about that. To me, when I see this scene, it very much seems like the hand is restraining him, keeping him alive, or both. The malice coming from his body is a manifestation of his hate, anger, and perhaps the agony of being kept like this. Over a long enough period of time, the malice builds up, and eventually forms the calamity that we see released in Breath of the Wild and in Age of Calamity. The whole situation has caused a type of recurring cycle, with the events of Breath of the Wild being only the second occurrence of it. Think about it. Ganon is locked away while still alive. That in turn generates malice, and that malice continues to grow until it reaches a critical peak. The Sheikah, likely the ones responsible for imprisoning him in the first place, were able to figure out how long it would take before the malice went critical, and thus they knew how long they had to build their machines to fight against it. So why not just kill him? Well, first we should address if he is actually dead at the end of Twilight Princess. In the final moments before the credits start to roll, we can see that after being impaled with the Master Sword, Ganon stands before the hero and the princess. He tries to conjure the power from his piece of the Triforce, which seems to be fading. An image of Zant is then shown to us, the player, watching, who then cracks his neck, causing Ganon's eyes to go blank while his body slumps over but still stands. This is the last we see of him in the game. I certainly believe the creators of the game intended this to be the death of Ganondorf, but what is shown on camera doesn't actually confirm that. It is now my belief that after his defeat in this battle, he was still alive, and that upon removing the Master Sword from his body, something was done to him to purposely keep him alive. Maybe Midna was involved before her departure. If you look at the hand holding him in place in the trailer, it does have a resemblance to the things we see in the Twilight Realm, though I'm sure many people think it's Zonai related at this point. So the question becomes, why would they keep him alive? I believe they did this to try to avert the original curse by demise placed on the hero and the princess. You might recall that the curse made it so the hatred of demise would reappear again and again, similar to how they do. Just like the hero, this would be a form of reincarnation. Unlike the case with Hylia, where her power can reawaken in every new princess due to the bloodline. It was with this knowledge about the reincarnation cycle that Princess Zelda made the decision to specifically preserve and restrain Ganondorf, all to prevent that reincarnation. Subsequently, this decision would have been kept secret, perhaps even from Link, because the act of preventing Ganon from dying would subsequently prevent a new Gerudo male from being born to the tribe. And so by the time of Breath of the Wild, so very far into the future, no mention or memory of the Gerudo male king prophecy seems to exist. At most, there is a passing mention by Urbosa over how the calamity once took the form of a Gerudo king, something that she holds a bit of resentment towards. Another thing from Breath of the Wild that feeds into my theory is some of the final dialogue from the game. Do you remember this line?
He has given up on reincarnation and assumed his pure, enraged form.
Yeah, let's analyze that real quick. Zelda says, he has given up on reincarnation and assumed his pure enraged form. That is a bit of an odd phrase considering that in the post-credit scene she also says, Ganon is gone for now. And thus we have ourselves a contradiction. If Ganon gave up on reincarnation to assume his pure rage form, then the implication is that if he is killed now, he will not return. And yet saying that Ganon is gone for now implies that he will just come back later. Well, the truth to this whole situation is simply that there is a mistranslation. While investigating this, it came to my attention that what I've been saying about this mistranslation was already posted on the Legends of Localization. And honestly, it's a pretty good read. I will put a link in the description. With the knowledge of the mistranslation and my theory here, it leads to an interesting conclusion. According to the Legends of Localization, this line would be better translated as, this form was born from his obsessive refusal to give up on revival. That too is clunky and contains a double negative. Looking closer at the exact Japanese words, they are indeed using the type of phrasing that we see in the Buddhist concept of reincarnation, the idea of a soul being reborn in a new body. So this is what I think is going on here. I think he was purposely kept alive in this state for over 10,000 years. During that time, Ganon very simply wanted to die. He wanted to so he could reincarnate and try again to wreak havoc. He was stuck in this terrible situation, and that resentment is ultimately what generated the malice. This interpretation actually makes a lot of sense with the original translation provided by Nintendo. He has given up on reincarnation. Not so much that he is throwing it away in order to get a power-up, but more like being unable to reincarnate for so long, his resentment eventually grew into this pure enraged form. Now, perhaps Eiji Aonuma already had a sequel, or at least parts of it, planned, and so he used confusing language in order to keep it vague on purpose. I guess we won't know for sure until the game officially launches, maybe sometime 4th quarter this year. Okay, let's summarize. Ganon has been kept alive since the end of Twilight Princess in order to prevent his reincarnation. As a result of being locked away and kept alive like this, resentment began to grow and accumulate inside of him, eventually spilling out as malice. When enough malice had formed over a long enough period of time, it would create the calamity. The Sheikah were aware of this and prepared to fight against it 10,000 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. Then, 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, the mask would go critical again, resulting in the emergence of the calamity. After the events of Breath of the Wild, Link and Zelda seem to be investigating the source of the calamity, and that is when they come upon the still living remains of the once Gerudo King. We can only guess what's going to happen from here, and I for one cannot wait to find out. Thank you guys for watching the episode. This is a new channel and it will need all the support it can get, so please like and subscribe to help it grow. Going forward, my channel may not be focused entirely on Zelda theories, but considering it is one of my favorite franchises, it's likely to get a lot of the spotlight. In them, I tackle some interesting theories that I've never seen other YouTubers talk about. Feel free to leave your comments below regarding the video, and I will make sure to try to answer them. I welcome all feedback, though I request you keep it constructive. Thanks again for watching. This is Cornelius Belmont signing off.